welcome everyone to this week's edition of Baseball Power Rankings. This is week 21, and there's been a lot of excitement going on with the division races, with the playoff picture. Not a lot of movement in the power rankings themselves. The largest drop was 2, the largest rise was 3. So there wasn't a lot of movement there, but that still makes things very interesting. The National League wild card is still wide open with a lot of players in motion. You've got like 5, 6 teams fighting for 2 spots still, while the American League has basically sort stuff up for the most part. You got Oakland and Tampa fighting it out for the second wild card, but it looks like Cleveland is going to be a virtual lock for the first wild card. They'll be hosting that game. Well, there's a lot to be determined. I mean, you can still see Tampa or Oakland catching Cleveland, but that's where things sit right now. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on into it. Another interesting element of the playoff race is that the Houston has had a good week. They went 6-1. They weren't the best week of everybody. The best week was 6-0. The worst week was 1-6. But with Houston's 6-1 week, combined with Oakland taking out New York in Oakland this week, they have now brought themselves into a tie for the first seed in the American League. So everything is getting very interesting, and we have, after this, 4 more weeks till the end of the season, with the December call-ups and the playoff races in hot pursuit. Baseball is getting very interesting, and we will, after the end of the season, we will convert the power rankings into a playoff watch, and then from there we'll go to hot stove, and we'll just keep things rolling throughout the year here for you. So, to get things started off, number 30, the Detroit Tigers are coming in last place here. They aren't doing as horribly as the Baltimore Orioles, but they're all in rebuilding mode, just like the Kansas City Royals. I know I just flashed through 3 of them there, but they're really kind of just finishing off their season. They're playing spoiler as much as they can, but by a larger count, even if they try to play spoiler, they're going to be hard pressed to do it. Kansas City just went 1-6 this week. Baltimore went 3-4 this week, and Detroit went 2-5. When you're going up against 500 plus teams, teams you can play spoiler with, they're hard pressed to actually do that because they are very weak teams. Coming in number 27, the Miami Marlins. Also had a 1-5 week, getting their butts kicked by Atlanta, splitting with the Philadelphia Phillies, and that kind of busted my whole theory about how they can run the table against Atlanta and Philadelphia, because they just went and played both rivals this week, and they did it, at home? No, away Atlanta, at home against Philadelphia, and so much for that, their heads busted. Coming in number 26, the Toronto Blue Jays also having a 1-5 week, and the Pittsburgh Pirates, my fun team to watch, went 3-4 this week. They got to play host in the City of the Little League World Series, where the Little League Championship happened in the day, and they played Sunday Night Baseball against the Chicago Cubs. They got their butts whooped, which doesn't surprise me, but it was still fun to watch the two compete. Then, of course, they go on to have 1-4 against Washington, and then 2-0 against Cincinnati. Both teams not going anywhere, but both teams still fun to watch. I mean, baseball is still fun to watch no matter who's playing. Coming in at number 24, the San Diego Padres, going 2-4 this week. Then, climbing up 2 spots, the Seattle Mariners said, I am not done yet. I am not going to stink all the way to 30. I'm going to have a good run, go 4-2 this week. We're going to go Seattle, 2-1 against Tampa Bay, in Tampa, split at home against Toronto, see the final today. Now, this brings up an interesting picture here, because you now have a team that has had a very hard season, and we're actually, at times, looking like they were fighting to get down there. They go into Tampa, and they drop 2 out of 3. What does that say for Tampa? It means that if you're going to make the playoffs, you definitely want to do it as a second wild card. You have been, unfortunately, poor at home. Therefore, you're going to need to take advantage of that road warrior mentality. Go into Cleveland, go into New York and Houston, and use that road to your advantage. Coming in at number 22, the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies, with whom I had the very first week where they went undefeated, have since fallen off the face of the earth. They went 2-5 this week, and to round off the top 20, we've got the Chicago White Sox, who went 4-3 this week, 2-1 against Minnesota at Minnesota, 2-1 at home against Texas. Now, the reason why I stopped there is because you just took 2 out of 3 from Minnesota in Target Field. I've been hearing a lot from Minnesota fans about how their team is playoff bound, they're ALCS bound, they're going to hold off and run away with from Cleveland Indians because they have a weaker schedule. You just got beat by the Chicago White Sox at home, okay? We'll get more into that when we get to Minnesota. In the meantime, congratulations to the Chicago White Sox for showing some humility to Minnesota. Coming in number 20, the San Francisco Giants are on the outside looking in. They're 5 games back, and then for the second wild card, they're not completely out of it, but realistically speaking, they're going to need a lot of help if they're going to get to that second wild card. It's not a matter so much of, I guess a little bit, that there are so many teams to climb up, because then you not only do you have to perform well and consistently, you also have to hope that teams above you also drop some games, because you can win more games, you can't lose fewer. Coming in at 19, the Cincinnati Reds, who are 8.5 back. I only mention that because they're not statistically out of it, but that far back, this late in the season, not going to happen. Coming in number 18, the Texas Rangers, who went 4-4 this week, took care of business against LA, going 3-1, and then went to Chicago 1-2. And this is a team that actually has the ability to play a decent spoiler here. They're not going anywhere, but like them, Arizona can also play a quality spoiler. I say that for Arizona because even though they're 5.5 back, they are kind of beyond my threshold of 5 games by a slight margin of having any realistic hope of catching the field. Because you've got the Brewers, the Mets, the Phillies. You've got a lot of teams you have to climb over to get there. Never mind the fact that you still have 2 wild card teams in the Nationals and who's the other one? I haven't written down. And the Cubs. Duh. Now the Cubs are still fighting for that division against St. Louis there. But with that many teams to leapfrog, there's just too many teams you have to catch. And you gave away Greinke for prospects. That screamed seller, okay? Now there are 2 games under 500, which also does not bode well for them. Coming in number 16, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, who went 2-5 this week. And like Texas have a bona fide chance of playing spoiler, they're just not playing as well as Texas. And yet because of season accumulated points, in contribution with the fact that overtime wins and losses drop your points because you get 2 or 1 instead of 3, they fall below LA on point totals for the power ranking purposes, but yet they're playing better than LA. Coming in number 15, a team with which was a powerhouse in the first quarter, has fallen off the map, and they're still 2 games out of the wild card, so they're still very much in the hunt there, but Chicago and St. Louis would have to dethrone the St. Louis Cardinals, which has gotten better. They've gotten better. The St. Louis Cardinals did not give much of a grain of salt. I thought they were kind of mixed in with Pittsburgh and Cincinnati as far as their playoff chances, and then they went ahead and took the NL Central, and they're standing out 70-58. So they're definitely a lot stronger team than they were at the beginning of the season. That could be the surprise breakout for the division crown, especially with Milwaukee and Chicago fighting it out all year long. Now they're fighting for the wild card. And the Milwaukee Brewers are 2 games out, while the Chicago Cubs own the second wild card. Coming in number 14, the Philadelphia Phillies. A game and a half out. I have them, honestly, God, very much possible to take that second wild card. Do they take the first one? I just don't see it. Having said that, is it possible for the first wild card? Anything is possible. But you'd have to take out the Washington Nationals to do it. And the Philadelphia Phillies are not far behind. No, actually they are. The Philadelphia Phillies have 67 wins. The Washington Nationals have 69 wins. That's 12 games back. So yeah, never mind. Never mind. Your only chance to get into this is going to be to catch the 2 games ahead of you, Chicago Cubs, for the second wild card. That is going to be tough for Philadelphia because Chicago is still very much in the running to take that first, their division, the Central Division. Okay. Coming in at number 13, divisional rival New York Mets are 2 games back. So the Philadelphians are closer. But the New York Mets are right on their heels. It's a very, very tight mix there in the National League wild card. Coming at number 12, the St. Louis Cardinals, with whom have the Central and are not relenting anytime soon. They are only a few games ahead of Milwaukee and Chicago, but they're up 3 this week, and they had one of the best weeks of all the teams. They went 6-1. The best team was 6-0. Obviously, that is better than 6-1 because the Nationals played an extra game and they lost an extra game. But still, at the same time, the Cardinals had a great week going 6-1 against Milwaukee and Colorado. Taking 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee is a statement series in the sense that you're now sticking the Brewers farther behind you. You're solidifying your stronghold on the Central Division. And then, of course, you went ahead and took care of business with Colorado, sweeping them with the season finale today. Speaking of Central, since we love the Central so much, the Chicago Cubs have fallen out of the top 10 and are in spot number 11. They actually had a single spot last week there, but fundamentally, because they were in such a dogfight for the division, plus they're holding the wild card, you would think they would be in the top 10, especially considering they've had a very strong season overall. Chicago Cubs, I feel, are a stone's throw away from reclaiming their division from the St. Louis Cardinals, and with the rotation they have of Hendricks, Lester, and the group there, along with their captain, I think that they have very strong potential to give St. Louis a run for their money. Not to discount St. Louis because they've had a surprising uptick this season and could very well take the Central as well. It's all so close. It's just fun to watch. So, having more or less run through the bottom 20 from a playoff perspective and from a rebuilding perspective, let's get into the top 10. Alright, let's have some fun. Coming in number 10, the Boston Red Sox have absolutely no business being here, but because of accumulated points over the course of the season, they're here. That has a lot to do with the fact that they've got a lot of 9-inning wins. That gives you 3 points, and that lets you accumulate more points and be higher. Having seen how this has turned around, where you have a bunch of non-contenders up here and a bunch of players hot in the mix down here, makes me wonder if our point system needs to be reevaluated during the offseason. But at this point in time, I want to see how this thing plays out. I want to see if you all like it, see what you think could be improved by this point system, how relevant this is to the playoff picture. There's only one way to find out. See how things play out in September and go from there. Coming in number 9, the Washington Nationals, who had the first wild card and went 6-1 this week. And they have very much a stronghold here because fundamentally they are well above the Phillies, the Washington Nationals 79 versus they've got that first wild card pretty well set up, especially with actually they're very much on the brink of taking the the division from the Braves. So now the Braves have competition here, so that will make things even more interesting. So now you got a point where now you got a fight between the Braves and the Washington Nationals for the division. Loser takes the wild card, probably hosts the wild card. Then you got a whole other dogfight for the second wild card, where you got all these teams in contention for that. Coming in number 8, the Oakland Athletics. The Athletics got one spot this week, but had a phenomenal series against the powerhouse New York Yankees. The New York Yankees have been historically horrible in Oakland, and Oakland fed on that, and used that 3-game sweep to get them to a half a game out of the wild card. They are now half game back behind the Cleveland Indians, the Tampa Bay Rays for the second wild card. And honest to God, I feel like whoever does not win the Central is taking that first wild card, and then it's pretty much a fight between fundamentally the Tampa Bay Rays and the Oakland Athletics. One of them will be traveling to Cleveland or Minnesota to finish out to play that wild card game. But now, having swept the New York Yankees, they are now very much they were actually, until the Oakland game ended, they were actually in a virtual tie for the second wild card. I had to wait till like 3 in the morning for that to get settled out, and then for Oakland to fall out of that second wild card and take the first runner-up at a half game back. Coming at number 7, the Cleveland Indians, who are in the first wild card. They fell 2 spots this week after going 0-3 against New York Mets and then taking 2 from Kansas City. Sort of like gimme games to get me to rebound from having a bad series against the New York Mets and getting swept by them. But at least now they've got their New York swing out of the way. They've played both the Mets and the Yankees, and they can go back to Cleveland and have a good old time. And they did a feast upon the Royals as a result of that. Coming in at number 6, the Tampa Bay Rays, who are in a dogfight with the Oakland Athletics for the second wild card. And fundamentally, as I mentioned before at the beginning of the video, being in a second wild card is the best thing to happen to Tampa Bay right now. Yes, I realize the one and done game sucks. Nobody wants that. But fundamentally, when you are 7.5 games back on the New York Yankees for the division, with only 5 weeks to play, and the Yankees play actually pretty good ball. They just split against the powerhouse LA Dodgers in Friday-Saturday games. Knowing that, you would need a lot of help from New York. They'd have to virtually collapse for you to take the division. Having said that, if you're in a lock for the wild card, and being road warriors that you are, and being absolutely horrible at home like you just showed against Seattle, being the second wild card is really the best spot for you, and you got a half game lead over Oakland. So hopefully you have enough road games left in your season to take that from Oakland, but Oakland's not going to give it up very easily. They just had a statement series against New York to say, we just took out the Yankees in our building. We are in this to win it. Granted, they're not as strong on the road, but getting in there is the most important thing. Coming in number 5, the Atlanta Braves, National League Central leaders at 79-52. They had the best week of any team this year, going 6-0, sweeping Miami, sweeping New York, doing everything you gotta do to to strengthen your position for the playoff push. Having said that, they are a far cry from the Dodgers as far as getting the number 1 seed. The Dodgers coming in at 85 wins. There's about 6 games back. It's not impossible, but I'm not even including wild card teams or 16 back. It's just, you're asking for too much of the teams ahead of you to lose, for you to catch up, barring that. Even if you did have a continuously perfect week, which is unlikely. So you're pretty much in a lock for the second seed in the playoffs, and you will most likely be hosting the winner of that Central between St. Louis, the Cubs, etc. Coming in number 4, the Minnesota Twins. heard a lot about how they've still got a very potent offense. They're helped out by home field advantage with their being pitcher friendly, and they have an easier schedule than Cleveland. Okay, great. I'll grant you that they have an easier schedule than Cleveland. However, who has more depth here? I've heard people say that Cleveland, because they have a harder schedule, despite the depth, that Minnesota is just going to solidify their lead back up to 10 and take that. Minnesota being at 78-51, versus Cleveland being at 76-54. You're talking about a 2-game separating these two. That's a dogfight. Nothing has been settled, and there's been no distance established over the past week. These two Cleveland is not yielding to the first wild card. They're absolutely shooting for that first wild card. And Minnesota's already seen what it's like to be in the wild card. They're not trying to relent that. So this is going to go down to the wire here between Minnesota and Cleveland. Will there be just separate differences? I really, it's possible, but right now it looks like these two are head-to-head, and neither one's going anywhere. Just like the same dogfight you have with Tampa and Oakland, neither one are going anywhere. It's going to be a close race to the end. Coming in, number 3, the Houston Astros took advantage of New York's bad series against Oakland and propelled themselves into a tie with the Yankees for the number 1 seed in the American League. We all knew you had the depth, and having Greinke there hold the reins and take out the season finale last Sunday really did a heck of a lot for helping propel the Houston Astros to where they are now. They had a 6-1 week. Yeah, they dropped a game to Detroit, but it is what it is. You still took 3 out of 4 from Detroit. Still took the first 2 out from LA, and Greinke helped get you out of your streakiness by holding down the season finale last Sunday. Which now brings you into a very interesting position, because now you're tied with the New York Yankees for the first wild card. And that first seed is so critical. We all know what happened a few years ago in the ALCS between Houston and New York. And do you really think that Houston would have won that series if they didn't have the benefit of home field advantage? It is huge for these teams, especially considering these two are among the 3, 4, 5 best teams at home. They have phenomenal home records. They both have feasted on the home ballparks. Definitely a tight competition here. And the Yankees have, like I mentioned before earlier in this video, that the Yankees have been historically bad at Oakland. They got their butts swept out of Oakland. It sucks. They had a horrible week. They went 1-5. But then they, on Friday, as a friend of mine put it, they had a statement game, pounding the crap out of the LA Dodgers, 10-2. That led up to Saturday's game. It was a 2-1 game. The difference of the game was you had a home run by Justin Turner and a home run by Aaron Judge, and the difference maker in the whole game was the fact that there was a runner on for Justin Turner's home run. That was the ball game, and that was settled early. Yes, both teams had their chances. Both teams had runners in scoring position. They both had prime opportunities to either extend, add some cushions that lead, or tie the game. But pitching prevailed. So that will lead up to an awesome Sunday Night Baseball game against the New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers, coming in number 1. The LA Dodgers have used having a very weak schedule of having Toronto in town to sweep them out of LA, to take back their number 1 spot from the New York Yankees, and then they had an absolutely classic over the weekend. Yes, Friday they got thumped by the Yankees, but it's 1 game. They then went back and had a furious pitching duel. You're talking using all of your best arms to hold back and maintain that lead, and it came all the way down to Jensen with bases loaded with 2 outs, and taking care of business against Sanchez. It was a phenomenal game. It was so much fun to watch. The adrenaline was just pumping, baby. That's what I love about it. So LA got to eat up the series and take in a Sunday night rubber match. That is probably going to be one of the most interesting Sunday night games of the whole season when you've got the two best teams in baseball going at it for the season finale, the rubber match. A winner takes the series. It'll be a great game. So I want to know what everyone out there thinks about what I think about the rankings and playoff potential and any other thoughts you have about baseball or otherwise. Please leave them in the comment section below. If you just happen upon this video via YouTube or Google, please hit the like and subscribe. It greatly helps out the channel. And as always, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Enjoy the games.